Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Today we're going to be taking it right back to basics, right back to what has really moved the cryptocurrency market up until March 2020, when, of course, everything got locked down and they stimulated, and then this real apparent correlation between general markets and liquidity came into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. Up until that point, Bitcoin had largely moved in a 4-year cycle theory, which we're going to be exploring in this video, that was centered around the halvening. Now, what is the halvening or halving for Bitcoin? It's essentially every 4 years written into Bitcoin's initial code by Satoshi Nakamoto. He implemented a mechanism where the rewards received for validating the network, for mining blocks, gets halved every 4 years. And the market, and this is a chart that I've kept from way back over here when we started making videos on the channel. And this is one of the things that I followed that allowed me to really capitalize on the bull market of 2020 and 2021. Now, we didn't know that this markets were going to have all this stimulus. However, based on the halvening cycle, and how Bitcoin and its price adjusts to this, it was suspected that something like this was going to happen. It did very well off of it. And ultimately, the question that I'm going to be asking and hopefully maybe answering today, and I'd love your guys' input on it in the comment section, is Bitcoin about to do a similar thing? So what I want to do is a couple of things. I want to look at the Bitcoin halvening theory. I want to add the halvenings in and show you how things have reacted from and on the run up to the halvenings, and then of course talk about a number of things like where we are today and why I actually believe that this could play out, given the fact that ultimately, we've took a bullish stance on the market since the start of this year after being out of them last year, and I do suspect continuation to the upside. I do think the halvening is going to have a positive effect on Bitcoin's price as supply is adjusted and demand potentially isn't. This is the whole kind of supply and demand concept. Very genius and kind of well thought that Satoshi had sort of written this into the initial code, because it doesn't guarantee that Bitcoin's going to become more valuable over time, but what it does guarantee is it's going to become more scarce as far as the fresh supply hitting the market. So we had the first halvening on the 3rd of January 2009, the second halvening on the 28th of November 2012, the second or third, it's really the second halvening on the 9th of July 2016, then the third on the 11th of May 2020, and now, of course, we have 4 years nearly on from that. We're looking at a halvening next year. Now, this is estimated to be exactly a year from today, guys. And what I want to do is we'll use and this is very interesting, it does look like things are repeating. But first of all, what is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory? Well, it essentially is that Bitcoin moves in this kind of a manner every 4 years. And we've kind of traffic light systemed it, if you will. But this has played out and still potentially could be playing out today. And this 4-year cycle is caused largely by the halvening. So if we go ahead and put the first halvening, other than the one on or the launch of Bitcoin in 2009, on the chart, I was about to say on the map, and see what effect it had. So 2012, this was November, right about here. So that was the effect of that was the first kind of halvening. The second halvening was on the 9th of July 2016. And then, of course, May 2020. Bearing in mind, we did have, obviously, the events of March 2020 to compete with. And now we're looking at getting one around about April, around about here. So you can see that typically, and let's go ahead and pull up a date range. 1 year prior is round about where the market bottoms. Maybe move this up here. Just keep this rough. And is this going to play out again? It's not perfect, but there is absolutely a correlation between the halvening and Bitcoin's price. And actually, what's been leading the entire altcoin market is Bitcoin. Are we going to see a similar thing take place? Hopefully, you guys are following me with what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to make this a super long video, just food for thought. And I think this is largely going to actually, it's not really such a narrative now, but it will become the narrative. You know, this is rough, by the way, guys. I know some people with OCD out there are probably wincing at the screen. You know, are we seeing potentially a similar thing take place today? And does that mean that the cryptocurrency market is going to continue to rally into this? And then it's usually after the point of the halvening where the real bull market gets started. Yes, I've said that. I do believe that the real bull market, I think the bull market has started. I think it started at the start of January. I think for equities, actually, it started in November. But of course, we had the FTX crash. I ultimately think that Bitcoin is now entering a bull market, and this halvening narrative, along with the kind of, I think, mass awakening to the dollar system and a number of other things, are really what's going to drive it. So that is the Bitcoin. That's what a Bitcoin halvening is. The 4-year cycle theory, which is tailored around the halvening, you know, it happens as a result of the halvening. You know, if we go and add some colors on here, so we go from December to, I have to come and do this neatly afterwards, but we then take a look at the background. You know, are we doing a similar thing to the second year? This is the first year, and this is the second year of the halvening. Are we doing a similar thing? Well, so far, believe it or not, and this amazes me, we are doing the same thing. And I think you're potentially here, guys. You're in this kind of an area. Now, whether we come into a crash, you know, we've still got the yield curve and a number of other things to play out. But even if you look back at, you know, second years, you've got to remember that the data is applicable to back here, but you've got to think of what kind of a market and what kind of participants there were back in this kind of a market, and the volume and just how the market would have reacted as a result of all that. So the data back here is a little bit skewed, but still very much the same. You know, for those of you familiar with a Wall Street cheat sheet, this is very much the Wall Street cheat sheet, you know, these waves. And ultimately, really, when you're looking at this chart, you've got Metcalfe's law present here. So you'll have a similar chart that runs with this that will be used as an adoption. And this is where the value of blockchains come from. In my opinion, is the users. It's like this social network effect, or this, it's really Metcalfe's law. You know, if you look at the companies that came out of Web 2, the internet, the real profitable ones are indeed those companies that have the most amount of users. Social network is an amazing example of this. I think blockchain is very similar and is going to derive its value from the underlying users. And I think what we've seen with Bitcoin, we've not even touched on recent price action. One thing I will implore people to do, guys, is please go and watch my daily cryptocurrency markets. You've almost got like this yin and yang with the markets. You know, I do believe that this is over. You did, for the Elioticians out there, some sort of 5-wave structure. We looked at the bullish divergence. We've looked at lots and lots of stuff, guys. And for those of you that aren't familiar with my daily cryptocurrency market updates, please do go and give them a watch. We've been calling the markets pretty accurately now for a long time. Of course, we get things wrong. Anybody who doesn't, that analyzes the markets, is either divine, and, you know, I've not met one yet, or they're just outright lying to you. So we get things wrong all the time, but we've been making some absolutely sensational calls, and ultimately made a call in a group that I run. There's a link in the description. Not pushing it on anybody. Please do check the Patreon out if you feel you want to, where we actually made a decision to put money in the back into the market on the 5th of January, having exited before a lot of this downside. Didn't perfectly get the top, not claiming that, but we made some pretty decent calls. Now, I wonder what the effect of the next halving is going to be. My guess and take is actually that it does quite well. And actually going back to Bitcoin dominance, is there something, ultimately we did think Bitcoin dominance was going down. It may no longer be. We were looking at this from a range trader's point of view. They'll take that all day. We're doing a very similar thing to what we did. If you look at the run up into the, and what happened after the May halvening, you can see run ups. But I don't want to really go into divergence. It's very interesting. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Do you think the Bitcoin halvening is going to have an effect on the price? Do you think we're going to continue to follow the 4-year cycle theory like it kind of looks like we're doing? And do you think we're now out of a bull market and that this narrative is, or we're now out of a bear market and this narrative is really going to fuel things? I think there's a lot going on. It's the most interesting macro environment that I've certainly ever been in, and people far more experienced with a lot more time in the markets than me, certainly in the traditional ones, have experienced. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. On that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed this content, like is always appreciated, so there's a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.